Hey everyone, it's me, Allison Rosen, your sad new best friend. I am doing okay though, and if anyone is listening to this, it just out. Maybe you came here because of Alie Ward. Maybe you're not familiar with me, and you're thinking, why are you sad? It's because my dad died on July 12th, so I'm okay. But I've been happier. And weird things have been happening, and I feel like this is normal, but like last night I've been getting tired really early, or just I sort of, I'll be okay during the day, and then maybe around like 6 or 7, I start to feel like my emotions are really catching up with me. So I'll get in bed maybe like around 8, and then just kind of fuck around on my phone and just take a break. And I had fallen asleep a little. I was kind of in and out of sleep, and Daniel was in the other room coughing because he's a little bit sick right now. And for a second, I think I must have actually been dreaming, because for a second I thought it was my dad. I thought he was there. And then I kind of, woke up and like in an instant realized, oh no, that was just Daniel, and my dad's gone. And And those moments where the reality comes just crashing back are hard. And I also keep replaying. There's a lot about the end I keep replaying. I know that that's just part of grief, but I keep replaying the moment that I found out, like when that hard transition from not knowing to knowing, or from when he was alive to not alive, except that's not really what it was. It was just when the news enveloped me. I feel like that's probably pretty standard. But, I was trying to figure out, do I want to view him? Do I not want to? I was scared. And Alie Ward and Cole and Perry really encouraged me to be open to the idea. So on Wednesday, I did see him, and I'm really glad that I did. I don't want to influence anyone to do that if they don't want to. And even my therapist was like, there's certainly no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong answer here. But for me, and Alie Ward had sent me an email that morning, a text that morning, for anyone who's keeping track of the kind of technology. I don't know why I felt the need to correct that so intensely. A text that morning saying the first couple minutes will be scary, and then your brain will click into understanding. And I kept clinging to that notion that this is natural. This is, human beings have a long, long history of seeing their loved ones after they've gone. So it really was much better than I thought it was going to be. And I was able to say all the things I wanted to say and say goodbye. And I wondered, is it going to feel really weird to talk to him? In the same way that like years ago in therapy, a therapist encouraged me to pretend this pillow is so-and-so and say what you want to say to them. And I was like, I just remember fixating on the tassels on the edge of the pillow and trying to do it, but being like, I guess I would say. So I wondered if I was going to be like that with my dad, but it was weird how natural it felt to just pour my heart out. A little one-sided, to be honest. But yeah, so I was really glad that I did that. And then we had like a little sort of an impromptu memorial, I would say. My brother spoke, I spoke, my other brother on Zoom spoke, And my brother, who's a musician, played a song on guitar that my dad had sang to us when we were little kids. And then we all sang, and it was so many tears, but really kind of beautiful and meaningful. So yeah, I have said so yeah 1,400 times, but I felt lighter that day. And then the next day I felt sad again. And then the next day I felt sad. And then the next day is today. It's weird how a death or grief just totally distorts your sense of time, because all of this feels like so long ago at this point. So many people have reached out to me to say the nicest things. So I want to thank everyone for your support. I can feel it. And also, a lot of people had gotten to know my dad over the years through the show. And so they remember different stories about him and little like bits he would do. He thought it was the funniest thing to talk about putting sweaters in bags. Like, oh, what are you doing? I'm really busy. I have to put my sweaters in bags. And the other night, I was folding up a sweater, like this turtleneck sweater. And I was thinking, I should put this in a bag. I was like, oh my God, it's the first time I've ever had that thought. So, my dad lives on via my concern with having is it moths? Whatever eats sweaters. Okay. So this episode, let's see where I got to put my glasses on to look at the time code to see how long I have prattled on here. Oh, wow. It's a little bit longer than I thought. This is an encore presentation of an Alie Ward episode. I did Cole and Perry last week, and this week I'm rerunning an Alie Ward episode. Alie Ward has been on a lot of times on my show, but I am throwing it back to her very first appearance. It's from 2017. I met her because I was a guest on Slumber Party with Alie and Georgia, and then I don't know how much time passed. I think we actually talk about it on this episode. I said to her that I wanted to have her on my podcast. And when I texted her or emailed her to ask her, she wrote back, and it was a screen grab of a list of podcasts she wants to be on. And I think mine was at the top. Even if it wasn't at the top, I choose to remember it that way. I believe we talk about it on this episode though. So I think that Ologies had just started maybe. We talked about that. We talk about a lot of different stuff. And then I remember I did a Patreon with her sometime after that where she talked about Jarrett, but I believe he was cookie dough ice cream guy at that point. But she kind of went into some detail about all of that. So I recommend that if you want to be, if you want to go behind the paywall, and it's patreon.com/Allison Rosen. I forget if I already said this, but Alie and Cole have been like my little like guardian angels through this loss. And I can't thank them enough. They've helped me so much. They've given me so much advice. They have been, checking in with me all the time. And, it's just really, really, I can't even put into words how much it's meant to me. It's really, really sweet. Yeah. So, but then what am I going to do next week? Someone better step up. Someone who's been a guest on my show, so I already have the episode, and it was a good episode, needs to step up in a big way soon. And then I'll, do an encore next week. Oh yeah. But since I felt a little sheepish about plugging my Patreon, I'm going to feel sheepish as well. And not really, I do not feel sheepish. I own the fact that I am a promotional beast, and I have merch. My merch store is newly up and running. I didn't have merch for many, many years. And I had it, and then I didn't for a while because I could not get my shit together, but now it's back. And I'm so excited. There's t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, sweatshirts. Are there just plain sweatshirts? Now I can't remember. Mugs, pint glasses, stickers, hats, notebooks, a water bottle. I mean, there's a full suite of Alison Rosen stuff. You can get all of that by going to AlisonRosen.com. And at the top, there's a banner that says, like, my merch store is live or something like that. Click on that. Okay, I love you guys, and here's the episode.
Alison Rosen. Alison Rosen is your new best friend. Alison, with her the good times never end. Alison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Alison Rosen. Alison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone. Hi. Hello. It is me, Alison Rosen. Welcome to another episode of Alison Rosen is Your New Best Friend. I'm sitting here with someone I like a whole lot, Alie Ward. She is host of the new podcast, Ologies, where she talks with people that study various things. Also a correspondent on CBS Innovation Nation, former host of Slumber Party podcast. She does all sorts of stuff for Cooking Channel. She's not afraid of bugs, which is something that we need to talk about. And I recently found out she's been on Nash Bridges,
oh boy,
Grey's Anatomy, and other things of that sort. Hello and welcome.
Hi. This is so exciting. I'm a fan of the pod. I'm a fan of you. So I wanted to be on this podcast, and then you asked me, and I was like, I have a list of podcasts I want to be on. Yours is at the top.
That is so
Isn't that weird?
Insanely flattering. No, not creepy at all. It's so flattering. Thank you so much. Yeah. So when I asked you to be on this podcast, you wrote back and you sent me a photo of a list you had made of podcasts you want to be on, and you're like, look who's at the top. And I was like, that's so nice. Thank
I know,
you.
It felt a little creepy, but I was like, I've had my ear on you. I want to be on. Let's do
so
this.
Nice. Do you normally, because I've just recently started being that person who's like, I'm going to write down my goals. And also, this is kind of gross. Here's the thing. I haven't put this to paper yet, but I recently decided, because there's so many things where I'm like, if I ever have a shit ton of money, I want to do that. So I'm like, I'm going to commit that to paper.
Yeah, do that.
You know what one of them is?
What?
And this is, I'm not going to judge it. I'm just going to say.
Just say it.
Maria Menounos has a quote wall in her house, which is like a whole wall of quotes that she finds inspirational. Mm-hmm. I want to do that.
I recommend that so highly.
Do you have something like that?
No, but I know a guy who's a screenwriter, and he has like a little writing nook. I guess people who have money call it a den. It's a den. But he has a bunch of quotes written on the wall, and they're all about writing and inspiration and like get your ass in the chair, da 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 da. And I walked in there and I was like, I feel so inspired. Like I wanted to run out of there, run a marathon, and go cure a disease.
Yeah, because what I do right now, as someone who does not have the, although really, how expensive could it be to write shit on your wall?
Really, very, very inexpensive.
Right. So I probably could do it. However, as someone who does not have that yet, all I do is just like bookmark stuff I like on Instagram. And I'm like, I'm going to return to this when I'm feeling down, but then I don't.
What about writing the quotes on pieces of paper, gently taping them to a wall? No commitment.
That's good.
Do that.
I like that. And you know, the stuff that I tend to veer towards the quotes that are like, it's all unfolding as it should. And like everything happens at the right time. And like, no matter what, if it's meant for you, it's going to happen. Versus the things that are like, go out there and ask for what you want. Like pound the like the stuff that just makes me feel okay about sloth.
Like
I think
passive optimism.
Yes.
Right. I think I like it when you just hand your ass to fate and you're like, work it out, universe. I'm going to be over here taking a nap.
That is so much more comforting to me than this, like, you got to get out there and hustle thing, which just makes me feel like I'm not doing enough.
Well, you're a high achiever, right?
Thank you. I don't know.
Would you call yourself a perfectionist or no?
Yes.
Okay. So then what you're doing is it's comforting because you're taking off that mantle of like, it's all in your hands. And if it doesn't work out, it's because you're an asshole.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, no, the universe has got this one. Put it on autopilot.
But also, I recently heard someone saying that like, at the beginning of your career. And by the way, I'm not at the beginning of my career. And also, we need to talk about you for a moment. Sorry, I'm taking this sojourn through myself.
No, but I have super perfectionist tendencies, so I relate to this where you're just like, it's happening. Just chill the fuck out.
So
I can swear.
Yes, yes. She was saying something about like at the beginning of your career, your job is to ask for everything you want. And that just runs against my fear of being pushy or demanding, which by the way, I probably am those things, even though I'm afraid to be perceived as them. Like I'm not a person who just asks for what I want all the time. That makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. It feels, I think also as women, we're programmed to not do that.
Yes.
I think that, you would be surprised how unpushy you are if you do ask for what you want. It's amazing. Like I am very much like, I can't send pancakes back in a diner. Like I would rather eat pancakes with glass in them than be like, excuse me, this is lethal.
Right.
So I was raised Catholic, I'm like, I don't deserve anything but hellfire, so I am like just learning to be a little bit outspoken. And I'm finding that people are relieved when you are, because people are like, God, finally, I know what you want. Here it is. I can do it. I can't do it. Whatever.
Well, that's the thing. That's the rub with wanting stuff but not expressing it, is that I think people can feel it on you. It's just that you're not saying it. So then you're just emitting a weird energy versus when you're like pretty clear and direct.
I know.
It's much easier for everyone else.
I know.
I do get that. It's just hard.
It's very hard. It's super. And I don't know what that switch is. I mean, I'm like very gingerly attempting that only for like the first time in my life ever. And because I've just been way afraid of being, like the problem is assholes don't know they're assholes.
Right. So by definition, we aren't assholes.
Because we care if we're assholes.
I will say, I recently did my show live at Podfest. Woo. And I had a late edition guest who emailed me, and in the subject line was like, "This is rude. I'm inviting myself." And then he was like, "Hey, do you happen to need a guest for Podfest? It sounds like it would be a fun time." And I was like, "I would love to have you on the show." And the truth is, I would love to have him. I just hadn't thought of him because I didn't, it's like, I didn't want to burden him by being like, "Do you want to come on this or whatever?"
Right.
So that was sort of an eye-opening thing. And maybe if I were to be pitching myself more for various things, someone might have that response of like, "Oh yeah, I would like to have you. I just didn't think to bug you about it."
Right.
So there you go.
I should have reached out to you earlier and been like, "Hey," because having launched this other podcast, I'm like, "Oh, I should go on some other podcasts and just to get out there."
Yeah.
And so hence the list. But I do have a friend who is kicking so much ass right now. She's on this show called Valor. She's like the lead. And I called her recently because I was just in such a slump. And she was like, "Here's what I do. Every day I make a drawing of what I want." And she's like, "It's really working. It's really weird. It's working really well."
Is this a bullet journal kind of thing? Are you familiar with hashtag Bujo?
Oh, I'm so up in Bujo.
Okay.
Do
you Bujo?
Well, Elizabeth Lame, one of your friends and former guests, she inspired me to Bujo. And bullet journals I have like a little binder that I keep with me. It has my calendar. It has like, and it's also helpful because I have sections in it. So if I'm working on a show or something, I put notes in there. Mm-hmm. So you know how you have notepads and you're like, "What notepad is that in that I wrote this thing in?"
I have notepad chaos.
Right. So what I did is I just went to an office supply store or whatever, got like a half size binder. They're just the size of half a sheet of paper. And then I got some paper for it.
Are they more wide than long or long than wide?
I'll show your ass.
Oh,
right
good.
now.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Oh, it's just a cute little binder.
It's a cute half-size binder.
It's the cutest binder.
Thank you very much. I've been using it all year. And then I have tabs in it. And so, I'm developing this show. So I have all my notes in it. And yeah, I have quad paper. I write down lists of things I want to do. I write down, I have my if I ever got rich list. Do you want to know what's on it? It's hilarious.
You have that list.
Duh, yeah, girl.
Yeah, I would like to know.
Okay. I have.
Oh, look at that penmanship. Shit I'd like to do.
Buy a house, go to Hawaii, purchase a massage chair. That's all that's on.
Oh, that's good.
I tried this massage chair for Innovation Nation. We did a story on it, and I was like, why am I flying to New Hampshire to cover a massage chair for the science show? This, like, what? Mm-hmm. Got there.
Then you could just go to a local Brookstone.
Exactly, which they took away the Brookstone in the Glendale Galleria, and that was my free massage chair access, and I'm pissed about it. But I went and covered this massage chair thing and talked to the guy whose wife has MS, talked to him about like how he designed the pressure points, da-da-da-da-da. I got in it, and it was unreal. It was the most comfortable I've ever felt in my life.
Wow.
It was like a full body massage for 30 minutes, but better than any human. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I have to own one of these. They're $10,000.
$10,000.
Like, you know, with taxes and delivery. But I was like, I would rather have this than like a Mercedes. I would rather continue to drive my 2007 Prius and have like a dope ass massage chair at home. I can't tell you guys. It was amazing.
Now, does the only one exist in New Hampshire? Like, why did you go to New Hampshire for it? Or that's where the guy was?
That's just their headquarters.
I need to ask you so many things, but first, can I just see?
Yes.
Would it be okay if I see and let the audience know what the tabs in your journal are? Oh, look, you have are these all? So you have a map of the United States on the back. Are these all the states you've been to?
I color in. It's a blank map of the United States, and I color in the ones I've been to. And so I have, I think, like 9 left. I'm going to Kentucky next week, so that's cool. I'll scratch the whole belt of the Midwest, like Nebraska, the Dakotas. Someone invite me over there for a casserole, and let me come to. Let me have a reason to visit because I haven't been yet.
All right, we've got calendars, TV development, books, travel. Thank you.
Thank you is
Ward cast, so that's good. Thank you. Is that like thank you notes you need to send?
It's a little bit of a gratitude journal.
Oh my God, I love that. Ologies.
I'm just putting it out there that I'm like, if there's a self-help situation, I will read about it. Like I'm very DIY. I'm like, how can I fix my own brain?
We need to get together and have a Bujo session.
I know. I need a new binder. My binder's falling apart.
We could go binder shopping.
Hell yeah.
So, okay. Well, you said that you want to DIY your brain. Are you not in therapy then?
I am, but I travel a lot for work. So my therapist and I talk about this, he's like, it's hard to get you in every week. And I was like, I know, dude. It's because I'm in New Hampshire sitting in a massage chair for money. But I do have a therapist who's helped me so much in the last year. I have pretty bad anxiety and just like perfectionism stuff, achievement stuff. I'm not worried about like plane crashes or murderers or anything. Like I just am really worried that I'm going to somehow blow it and just get lazy and fall down some slippery slope and find myself like under an overpass, like, you know, eating crickets.
Were you raised with a lot of pressure to succeed?
Oh, huge. Yeah. My parents, no, but my grandparents were real a-holes. They were like, and they're dead, so I don't feel bad about that. But yeah, they would did this thing when they would come to visit, they would do inspection. They would bring my sister a roll of quarters, oldest, middle sister a roll of dimes. Me, the youngest, got a roll of nickels, which is like unfair already.
Yeah.
They would inspect our rooms, and for every mistake we made, they would take back a coin.
Like, what kind of mistake are we talking?
If they found dust on a shelf or if the corners of our beds weren't made perfectly. I mean, so we were under...
This is some flowers in the attic shit minus the incest.
They were awful. The only thing worse is if I had to see either of them naked. Thank God I didn't. But they were not nice people. So, yeah, we just grew up with a ton of pressure to be...
I'm sorry. I can't move on yet. Together, they would do the inspection.
I think
also, if they can't, like, this was like a instituted family activity if they went to the bank first to get these rolls.
Oh, yeah. It was, I mean, that was just what happened when they came over. And I remember being like...
But your parents were okay with it?
I think they were like, well, they could be beating you with hangers. which is generationally, we got that. We got to skip that. But
right.
They were like... I remember being like 6 and thinking, I have to clean my room just as much as my older sister. My hands are tiny. Mm-hmm. Number one, I can barely reach these shelves. Why am I getting a fifth of the money? I mean, it prepped me for being a woman in the modern world. But
yeah, my grandfather, who was a real asshole, would do this thing. I did not experience it. But he would this story turns dark. He would get home from work and he would yell, "Stand by." And then the kids would have to line up and he would like inspect them, make sure they were clean by the ears and like ask them questions. And then he would beat them if they didn't pass. That was like a real, I think that was a generational, the standby inspection sort of
Right,
tough, like unkind love thing, which is not love,
That's
just unkind, just cruelty.
awful.
Yeah.
Are they dead now?
They are, yes.
Thank God. I mean, I know how my grandparents would have voted. You know what I mean? So I'm like, good thing you died. Horrible. But that's awful. I mean, I don't know if it was a post-war era where everything was like, there was like a militarization. I've said that wrong. Whatever. Of
No, I think you said that right.
Did I?
I think so. Well, my dad is older, so this is actually the generation before. But anyway, so it was war, not post-war, I guess. Yeah, it was. Yeah, because my dad was born in 1933.
Okay.
So
That's still.
it was a pre-war abuse.
I mean, there are wars all up and down this
That's
century,
true.
man.
That's true.
Name a time. There's a war. So I don't know, but I think that gets instilled in you pretty. And were you raised Catholic or no?
No.
Okay.
No. I was raised without religion, pretty much.
You're so lucky.
But I feel like it's just, that shit just trickles down, and it's just like in your blood and in your bones.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you pick up on little things. You know, you pick up on when you're on your mom making, you know, horrible comments about her body. You pick up on that stuff. You pick up on, parents' sense of defeat and all of that stuff. I mean, and it takes a lot of work to recognize it, number one, and then reprogram it. And I think a big part of that is realizing, like, oh, this mechanism I'm using isn't the healthiest thing. Like, you really have to come to terms with the fact that you do things a little bit wrong to right them.
Right. So how religious was your upbringing?
I mean, my parents were both Catholic. So I have 1 million relatives. Like, we had to do a crash course before going to family reunions because it was like, I don't know which one Uncle Bob is, man. I don't know who's Stacy. Is Stacy a boy or a girl? Stacy's a boy? Okay, great. I know cousin Stacy is. But yeah, my dad was one of 11. My mom was one of 6.
Wow.
So this is just like an army of human beings that you're related to. But yeah, like, we had to go to church, you know, every week. And it started at some point, my parents both kind of gave up on Catholicism, thank God. But we would go in San Francisco and we'd get there to go to church. And sometimes we'd miss like the 10 o'clock showing, and the next showing would be like in Korean. So we would just go and sit in the back. God knows you're here. Just, you know when to sit and stand. And so we'd go through a whole mass in a different language just to like get our attendance checked. But yeah, man, you walk into a cathedral, there's statues of bleeding women everywhere. There's babies crying blood. You got to pay money to light a candle if you want to, you know, hope that your uncle doesn't die of, you know, pancreatitis or whatever. It's weird, man. It's pretty weird, but it's very dichotomous too. It's like, it's very heaven, hell, sin, atone. Everything is a slippery slope. Like, if you want to fuck your neighbor's wife and you don't tell someone about it, like, pack your bags to hell. Like, you know what I mean? So it's very thin icy.
Did you do confession when you were young?
Yeah, it was weird.
Like, what kind of stuff would you confess?
Like, I pinched my sister, you know, because she wouldn't give me the remote. And, you know, you walk in like an 8-year-old, just heavy-hearted. You get into this room alone with a priest. And I was always under the impression from Madonna videos, from TV, that like, you get in a booth, no one sees anyone's faces, right?
That's what I thought.
That's exactly.
Like going to a speakeasy at the very beginning.
Right? You would think that it would just be a speakeasy of sin. No. I was in a well-lit room face to face, and I was like,
what? That is not how I've been led to believe it is.
I know. I thought I had anonymity on my side.
Yeah.
No, you go in there, and you're like, I didn't do my homework. And they're like, yeah. And they make you say Hail Marys and stuff. It's like, I went to a psychiatrist once being like, do I need antidepressants? And she was like, how were you raised? I was like, Catholic. She's like, no, you just need yoga. I was like, wow.
She's what a chill psychiatrist.
She was like, I see a lot of you guys.
Is that the only question she asked you?
Yeah, it was just super quick. It was a drive-through psychiatrist, super quick, and it was shouted through a loudspeaker. No, it was but she's like, yeah, I get a lot of you guys. You're like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfectionism, though, I get it, though.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Let's talk about something that I got for a while now. I've needed to discuss with you.
Okay.
On your social media, which I follow and enjoy, I particularly enjoy your hair in its natural state
Oh.
because you are you're beautiful and you have like sleek red hair, but then periodically you just have giant red hair. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what her hair does left to its own devices. Amazing. There's so much volume. But no, what I wanted to ask is on your social media, oftentimes you will show pictures of you holding bugs and things like that. Yeah. And I look at that and I'm like, that's a better person than I am. Because no, it's true because I love animals. My love does not cross over the gulf to bugs and insects. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, I can really like spiral down in terms of what that means about me. And then I extrapolate and I'm like
what?
Just like, that kind of thinking is what leads to genocide. You know, this thing. See, I can reach catastrophe very quickly. Like to me, I love cute animals, but I don't love them. Like, what? They don't love their family? Anyway, so have you always loved insects?
Can we get back to my hair really quick?
Yes.
Two things. I was going to come with my hair au naturel, but I didn't want to horrify you.
I would have been delighted.
I washed it on purpose today, and I blow dried it on purpose. It's like back in a bun right now because after I blow dry it, there's a like 12-hour waiting period before it looks like hair because it looks kind of like a rope that you've burned.
Mm-hmm. No, I have naturally curly hair. I get it straightened.
How do you do it? Brazilian. Japanese. Okay.
I've done Brazilian a couple times. I prefer Japanese. Yeah. But in high school, that's when I discovered a paddle brush and various pomades. So, and that was pre-straightening iron, or at least pre my awareness of straightening iron. So I used to blow dry in sections, and then if it rained, like my life was ruined. Yep. But I know what you're talking about with that frayed rope thing. Yeah. That was the texture of my hair.
Yeah. It feels like it feels
burlap.
Hay-ish. Yeah, it's very burlappy. It feels coarse, like if you've ever had the opportunity to touch a buffalo hide or something of that nature.
Not, but I could imagine.
Actually, my parents, they've been married for 48 years. They're adorable. They're very much in love still. But we were sleeping in a teepee on the plains of Montana because my dad's from Montana. There's a homestead up there. My cousin
Stacy,
not Stacy,
Stacy the boy,
boy Stacy. But one of my cousins married a woman who's Blackfoot Indian, and so we have teepees and stuff like that, and they raise bison, and they're so awesome. And so we were sleeping in this teepee. My parents are on one mattress, I'm on another, and the smoke flaps are flapping in the wind. You can see the stars. It's amazing. And my parents are falling asleep, and I just hear my dad go, "Oh, I thought that was you, but it's the buffalo." He had been petting my mom's hair, who has very curly hair also. He had been stroking her hair as they fell asleep, but he was actually petting the buffalo hide that they were sleeping on. And she was like,
That's
it was
amazing.
the cutest, realest, but also most offensive thing ever. What do you mean? So I have that kind of hair, but I was going to let it loose, but I also had a dream last night that I cut my own hair. So this morning I cut my own hair.
You did?
Yeah, I do that all the time. I just cut it off.
It's never gone well for me when I've tried to cut my own hair. I'm always like, I've watched them do it. I should be able to do it. And then I do it. I'm like, oh, there is so much more art to this. Oh, what? I think it was a long ago Thursday episode. I think it was pre-Jeff where I made the decision that I was going to cut my own hair. And then just to show how fast I can go to like, oh, this leads to genocide. I was like, what if I'm so good though that everyone asked me to cut their hair and then I don't have time to cut everyone's hair? I know I talked about that years ago. Anyway, it turns out I'm not good, so I didn't have that problem.
That's so much like you know how in improv there's like A to C?
Yeah.
Like that's so A to like F, A to M. Like that's like whoosh.
Yeah.
So it didn't go well. So thank God you don't have to do that.
Right. I don't. I have so much time now now that I'm not cutting hair. So do you just trim? What do you do?
I don't know. I just lopped off like 4 inches.
That's a lot of hair.
It is. I'll get it cleaned up by a pro, but I do it all the time. My hair is so curly and thick that it's just like doesn't even matter. I just was like, these ends. And I had a dream last night and I woke up and I was like, you know what? That sounds kind of fun. So I just did it. Which is weird. It's weird that I'm a perfectionist about some things, but I'll also just lop my own hair off without even like giving it like much of a thought. I'm like, well, you know, whatever. That's not the end of the world to me. But if I send an email with a typo, that's it, man. I'm like, oh no. So whatever. But we were talking about bugs. I'm so sorry.
Yes. Just real fast. I meant to write Y-O-U-R and I wrote Y-O-U''re, which is the less egregious of that error. But I was like, oh, I can't believe I did that. So
Y-O-U''. What's wrong with that?
No, because I was trying to say your
possessive.
skin looks amazing, but I said your skin looks amazing.
Oh, it was a possessive.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
No, it wasn't to you. Okay. But your skin does look amazing.
I was going to say, I'm ready for that compliment.
Your skin looks amazing.
Bring it on. I was like, when did you tell me that? That happens all the time. And in the modern era, who really cares?
That's true.
The fact that you didn't put "you-are" is fantastic.
That's true. That's what I should have done.
Prince would have done that, but whatever.
Bugs.
Bugs. Here's how I feel about them. I've loved them forever, like since I was a kid. But I get what you're saying because there are bugs that I will put on my face without a thought.
Is that where they go?
Sometimes they go there. I've had mantises on my head, whatever. There's a hashtag, I think, that's like bug face or something, or face bug.
That your own hashtag?
No.
Or you just participated in it?
I wanted to participate, and I haven't been able to find a bug impressive enough to do a face bug hashtag. But I have friends who go into the rainforest and study bugs, and they put whip scorpions on their faces, and they're harmless, but it looks horrifying.
Are they big?
They're the size of your face.
Okay, I'm not into that.
It's so much, but I get it because if I see a cockroach, I want to burn the world to the ground. So I get that, and I ask myself, why do I feel this way about cockroaches?
Right.
But I'll let a bigger praying mantis like crawl on my eyeball. Like what's happening? So I get it, but the thing about bugs that I like is that they're very science fiction to me. Like they're like little alive robots, and their brains are tiny, but their behavior is so specialized, so selected for by evolution. And they're they're like little stormtroopers, but hopefully better intentioned, sometimes not. But just how beautiful and smart and talented they are for what their size. Like if you look at a spider spinning a web, you're like, how are you an architect? Look at you. You're gangly as like the size of a pinhead, and you're like, I built this very strong thing. I think it's so cool.
Look, all of a sudden you're a bugologist, which is not the right term. So sometimes there will be a web and a huge spider going across. It's probably like 10 feet.
Yeah.
How do they jump? How do they get across?
Yeah, they have what those types of spiders are probably orb weavers. Usually the ones that build those really beautiful, especially in the late summer, early fall. That's when I get the most texts and tweets of like, what the hell is this? And it's usually an orb weaver. But I studied this when I was volunteering at the museum. I was a volunteer in the spider pavilion, so you have to take like a 2-day course on spiders before you can go like be a docent there. But they start by making a kind of a big Y shape, and then they go in and fill in the spiral last. But they use a different kind of silk for that big string that goes across like the foundation. Right. They use a slightly different kind of silk that's stronger than like Kevlar. It's crazy. And they hook it onto one side of the tree, and then they jump and go whoo. They kind of, it's called ballooning in some species. They also do that when they try to get farther away from all the other babies. They use ballooning. They just like spin silk, and then they just fly on the wind with it, because if they're around their brothers and sisters, they'll get eaten. But when they're making webs, I think they do the same thing. They just spool it out, wait till they land.
Maybe I'll start to like them.
I don't know.
How do you feel about ants in your house?
Not good.
Okay.
I'm like a GTFO, little bitches. And most of the ones you see in your house are invasive anyway. They're Argentinian ants. In LA, we're supposed to have these harvester ants, which live in the mountains, and they're kind of bigger. They only like seeds, but Argentinian ants are invasive, and they'll eat like Fruit Loops. They don't care. And so those are the ones in your house. But Grant's ant steaks, have you ever used those?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, they're the best. If you have ants in your house, get these things. They're called Grant's ant steaks. You soak them in some warm water, and then use a toothpick, and you kind of mush it up, put some on the outside, and they love it. It's delicious. They take it back to the colony. They're like, party time, you guys. Look what I got. Everyone's like, hell yeah, let's do it. And then they all die.
Well, see, it's interesting because in my fantasy of you, you would never kill a bug.
I know, that is genocide right there. Like, that's the definition of genocide, is I put some bait out and I killed all of them. I know it's terrible, but...
No, I actually don't. I'm having trouble wrestling with. I don't think it's terrible, actually. But I feel like I should. I don't know. I'm confused.
It's ethically, it's a lot to grapple with. I feel you. They are an invasive species. In terms of ecology, you're like, you know what? These guys are edging out the harvester ants, which are then edging out the horned lizards. So
I think what I grapple with ethically is that I have no problem killing a bug.
that's
Like
okay.
none.
That's okay.
And I feel like maybe I should, but I don't.
Are you vegan?
No.
Then
But I also,
don't worry
no,
about it.
I mean, I'm not, but that's another one where I'm like, when I really think about it, I think I should be. Are you?
No, I'm trying to eat less meat. But the other thing is, just by living in a house, like, you've dug up the environment for like so many moles and birds and stuff. So like human beings, humanity, we're doing a thing. We suck.
We are doing a thing.
You know, like, you can't, if you were to, like, there's even plants that might communicate to each other. Like, you just got to live your life, man.
I wonder how much long we'll be doing this. How much longer we'll be doing this thing.
Like humans?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you said it like how people who have dog or cat Instagrams. Have you noticed that a dog Instagram, they never know how to spell human. It's always human.
Yep. Yeah.
My human.
I think that just points out how many dog Instagrams I follow. Oh, they're the only thing that make me happy.
Oh, yeah. When I did Slumber Party podcast, I think we talked about dog Instagrams. Did we talk about Norbert maybe?
100%. Yes,
Yeah.
we did. I'm super into Chewy the Chai, which is a CHI, which is a tiny chihuahua with fangs that
Oh
is
my goodness.
very homely, but also incredibly adorable.
I need to be following him, her, Tim.
tiny, tiny, tiny dog.
I'm on board.
Very ugly face. Love it. Very, very much love ugly dogs.
I just found out. So Rhea Butcher posted a photo, and she said that one of my favorite Instagram animals has died, and I'm having a really tough time with it. And it was a box of ashes, and the nameplate said Rhea on it. Do you know about this bird? Was a bird that had some disease, so it had no feathers.
Yeah.
It was so weird looking, but cute.
I know.
I feel bereft that I found out way too late.
I know.
So I went back looking at the pictures, but I forget what it's like. Rhea the naked birdie or something like that.
People would knit sweaters for her. She looked like a tiny, alive, roasted chicken.
Yeah. Yes, her little tiny wings.
Yeah, she was incredibly nude.
Mhm.
And yeah, I saw that. And it was very confusing on Rhea's Instagram because I was like, that's your name and a box
Right.
of ashes.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Why, right.
Who posted this? What happened?
Yeah.
Why is that? How big should a box of ashes for what? Huh? For a bird be? It took me a minute to know what was happening. I was very alarmed at first.
You know, given what I know of ashes, sounds like a Robert Frost poem. That box is much bigger than is necessary, actually.
For a tiny bird?
Yeah, that bird was tiny. It really should be like a matchbox size.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Hence my confusion.
Right.
But yeah, I follow a lot of animal accounts. Isn't it interesting how you go to Instagram to be like, I'm going to see something pretty, and then you go to Twitter to be like, what the fuck is happening in the world? How are we going to die today?
Yes.
And then you go to Facebook to say, like, I'm so content with my life, and I'm so appreciative of the people in it. And like, you have totally different needs for them.
Right. It is true.
And in Twitter, I would never post something like super bummer on Instagram.
No, me neither.
You know what I mean? I'd never be like, what's Trump doing? But usually, just because I feel like people go there to like a closet that they can just go in for a minute and breathe and then come out into the gross, disgusting world.
Right.
Is that horrible?
No.
Okay.
No, I had an important question last night, which was, you know how everyone's talking about bone broth right now?
Oh, God, yeah.
Bone broth. It's everywhere. I mean, I've been aware of it being everywhere for months now. But is it just the same? Oh, you're on a cooking show. Is it just the same as broth? And so anyway, I needed to ask this question. And I was thinking just like you're saying, where do I put it? Do I put it on Twitter? I ended up putting it in an Instagram story because I felt I had tweeted too much that day. I live a small life, you guys.
And what kind of feedback did you get?
I got yes and I got no. And then finally I just went to Epicurious. And it's not exactly the same, but it's almost the same.
Right.
Because it's like kind of a combination between stock and broth.
Right. I was going to say, I think stock is boiled bones.
Right.
Isn't it?
Yes. Right? And vegetables and aromatics, which is that just a fancy word for herbs and spices?
Sure is.
I don't like it.
Yeah. No, it's very annoying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about ologies.
Okay.
You describe the feeling you got when you encountered a list of all the various ologies. Where did you just talk me through the whole thing? Because I know you've been working on the podcast for a long time. And also, if anyone's not listening, go listen. It's so unexpectedly funny.
Aww.
It's so well produced. Do you produce it yourself?
Oh, God, yes. This is why I said when I got here, I was very excited to come here because I had showered. I had put on makeup. I'm wearing pants. But for the last couple weeks, I have been... I edit each episode myself, and I have some help from my friend Jason Scardamalia on the other end who helps me do like levels and some other edits I can't do. But for the most part, I spend like 30 hours editing each episode. Which is insane. It just also speaks to how bad I am at using certain editing programs. I'm just trying to get better at them.
No, but just it's like interviewing the guest and then doing your voiceovers and inserting it, and then like the funny little things. Like I was dying over it was a volcano expert, a volcanist. Mm-hmm. Subduction, is that the word? Leads to erology.
Orogeny. Yeah.
Orogeny.
I had this for episode 1. I had this woman, Jess Phoenix, who's a volcanologist. She studies volcanoes, and she's also running for Congress. She's like the most badass ever. And so yeah, she was saying some geology puns. It made tons of sense to geologists, but I was like, just did not get it. Yeah. But it was like my first interview, and I was like, I don't know how to tell you, I don't get it. But it took me. I started recording these episodes because I'd wanted to do something about ologies forever.
Ologies being the study of something specific. Yeah. Is that what that means?
I came across this list of all these ologies years ago. And I remember, I felt like I was like had to pee or was going to throw up. Actually, one of my just me or everyone else is like when you get excited about something, like, do you have to pee? Like if I go into like a hardware store or a library or an art supply store and it's exciting, I'm like, I gotta pee now. Like this is too exciting. That's
hardware stores give you that feeling?
I love hardware stores.
Oh my God. You should be with my husband because art supply stores, hardware stores, craft stores.
The best.
He recently told me, I think this came out on the podcast as well. I think I brought it up on the podcast that sometimes on his lunch hour, he'll stroll through Michael's. I love that actually. And I also am into it, but not in the way he is. He's handier than I am.
I'm definitely not going to get together with your husband. Just FYI.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe Allison Rosen's husband is your new best friend. Right. Maybe I could be both.
Yeah.
But yeah, something about a hardware store. It smells like oil and sawdust. There's bins and nails. You're like, what does this thing do? There's like lumber. I don't know. It's so exciting. Do you have any stores like that? Like, do you walk in and you're like, ooh, like Sephora or like or like a, I don't know.
Well, this is not what you're looking for with this question.
Okay. But
years ago, when I would walk into a bead store, and specifically in Laguna Beach, there was the bead shop. And I don't know if it was SHOPPE. It might have been. I would get super excited when I went into the bead shop because I got on a jewelry making kick. Also, you know what? A stationery store, especially if they have rubber stamps. Yes. And I mean, I haven't done anything with rubber stamps in years, but that rubber stamps, ink pads, if you can buy loose stationery by the sheet.
Yes.
That actually makes me excited thinking about it now. So yeah, stationery stores are my thing.
Like I gotta wear a diaper when I go into one of those. Like it's just like an astronaut diaper. Yeah. It's too exciting.
Office supply stores. You mentioned that earlier is where you went for your small binder.
Yeah.
I also get excited by office supply stores. Yeah. All the pens.
I know. You never know. You might come across a notebook that's going to change your life. It's just so much
potential.
Desk
organizer.
I guess it's really like stuff you can make stuff with stores.
Right.
And I guess libraries fall into that as well. You can like think of all of the ways my life could potentially be changed by an object I pick up in this store.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, who knows? This is a portal to a new life. I mean, that's very optimistic. Way too optimistic. But I felt this way when I saw this list of ologies. It was like, my God, the study of bees and clouds, and then the study of laughter, and the study of, volcanoes and the usual suspects and stuff. And then the etymology, the roots of these words, like where does this come from? And I was like, more importantly, for every ology, there's at least one person who does it. And who are they? And why do they want to do this? Like, what's their deal?
Where did you find this list?
I think, you know what? It came because I used to be a painter and an illustrator, and I had a little company called Curiology. And Curiology is the study of writing with pictures, so like pictograms. So if there's like let's say there's a something that shows that the bathroom's gender neutral with a picture, like that's curiological. That's a pictogram. And so my paintings had a lot of words and pictures, so it's kind of like a play on that, whatever. And so I came across that when I was searching for Curiology, and then I was like, what the fuck? And so I just wanted to do something with that forever. And then about a year ago, I decided I'd do a podcast with it, and I started recording ologists, and I couldn't figure out how to do the podcast. I had like recordings of 8 ologists. They were all great and super smart, but I was like, this is maybe too dense for just putting it out as a straight interview. And so I kept kind of like, I don't know, just stalling on it, just perfectionisting on it. And then I finally decided to do like interludes where I break things down and cut it up more and make it more produced, which is a buttload of work. It is so much work, but it's been worth it because I feel, proud of what it is. But yeah, like, whew, if you ever want to see how far you can push self-care, just try to teach yourself like an editing program. Because I'm a disaster.
So do you listen, like how do you decide where to interrupt yourself with yourself?
Yeah, because it's like I did these interviews, and it's mostly the ologists talking, and I had a few people who listened to it who are friends of mine who are like, this is really interesting and good, but you just come in like 10 times and ask a question and then you bounce out. And so they're like, we kind of want to hear a little bit more of how you feel about the interview going through. So I was like, okay. So usually if there's something where during the interview I have no idea what they're talking about, but I don't want to interrupt them, that's usually when I bounce in afterward and be like, okay, this is this. Or if I'm talking to an expert and they're like, yeah, I don't know exactly what that is. So then I'll do research and do a voiceover it later.
Do you transcribe it, or do you just like you're listening back and you're like, that's where I'm going to do this?
Oh my God. It's been such a journey. I use this website called Temi, which is TEMI, that does transcription for like 10 cents a minute, which is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
So it's like $5 for an hour, $5-6.
Is it a human doing it?
No,
or is it,
no, it's AI. So it's like Siri writing your term paper, and they get all kinds of shit wrong. Like I looked through the transcript, I'm like, what is this? But it gives you kind of like, okay, at least I know where this is, and it takes 10 minutes as opposed to like 1 million hours. So
right.
So then I just highlight it, but it's a real pain in the ass.
Is that similar to what you do for CBS Innovation Nation? Like, do you write your own stories and stuff? No. So how does that work?
Well, I think that's why I like doing ology so much, is it's something that's so like totally in my control, totally in my voice. And it's like, I think that's one reason why it took me so long to put it out, and why I obsess over little cuts and stuff like that. But with CBS, it's like they will say, okay, we're going to Kentucky this week, and we're going to go do a story on bat houses, which I'm like, hell yes. I get to go study bats this week. I'm super excited. But yeah, I go, I film, they might give me a list of questions that they want covered. And then I come back, they write the story, I do the voiceover. And then, I write a segment of the show that's a vocabulary segment at the very end. It's called Vocabulary because Mo Rock is on the show. Even though I write the vocabulary, but still, it's still
I feel
called
like it should
Mo.
be called Wardcabulary.
One day.
I was recently talking about a very short-lived show that Mo Rocca hosted. How versed are you in Mo Rocca's career?
I'm obsessed with him. So
Did you
well.
see the show where it was couples would come on and compete, and it'd be like a married couple. I don't know if they had to be married, but they each found something about the other one super annoying, and it was like a quest to see who was more annoying. And I mean, that, no offense, anyone involved, I made it sound more interesting than it was. It was kind of a weird show, I think. But the husband's gripe with the wife was that she put artificial I relate to this. I've turned into her. She put artificial sweetener on everything, including her salad. But it didn't make sense why it was so annoying to him, because it wasn't like she was putting artificial sweetener on his salad.
Yeah.
I take it you have not seen this show.
I have not seen it.
Jeff, did we ever find the name of the show?
Things I Hate About You.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
2004.
There you go.
Oof. Gotta get up on that. By the way, those
Yeah.
sheets do sound really good.
They're really great. And they have really, I got blue and white polka dot, but it's not like it doesn't beat you over the head with its polka dotness.
Got it.
It's like a subtle polka dot and then a striped duvet, but they have all sorts of different options, and you can like make in terms of colors and designs and mix and match, and they're good. All right. So we know the name of Mo Rocca's show. Okay. So you asked the volcanologist,
Right.
what's your least favorite aspect of your job?
Right.
And she gave an answer that initially I felt was not a real answer. She said her least favorite part of her job is that she just doesn't get to do it enough.
Right.
And I was like, that's like in an interview when someone's like, what's your
Worst quality, and you
Thank
say
you.
I don't have any flaws.
or like, what's my worst quality? I work too hard.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was that kind of answer. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, I will accept that answer. How did you feel about it?
I thought maybe there's got to be something worse, like when you
Right.
when you get your period on a caldera.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like something like that. Maybe, but then again, I didn't prep her with what the questions were ahead of time, so she just went off the dome, dude. She's just like, here was my first impression thing.
Right.
So I think that maybe as a volcanologist, what you want to be doing is like, you want to be in the lava.
Right.
And the reality is you're probably in the lava less than you want to be.
Like if you're an astronaut, I could
Right.
imagine like, well, the bummer is that I don't spend that much time in space.
Right.
So
What's your least favorite thing about this podcast?
interviewing the guests.
Yeah, it's awful. I don't blame you. This experience is terrible.
My least favorite thing about this podcast. I think it is having to worry about how do I stay in people's faces? How do I grow the podcast? How do I get out there? Am I promoting it enough? Am I marketing enough? Am I making the most of this opportunity or that? It's all of that stuff that I don't want to have to worry about.
Right.
I also don't love the actual like nuts and bolts, writing the blog post, uploading it, that stuff. But that's like a very minor, fast thing. Oh, I know.
What?
I know what I hate.
Okay.
Anytime, this is such a tiny thing, but Jeff and I have talked about, for some reason, it's like, it's a pet peeve in that it's petty and it peeves me.
Okay.
If I actually have to take the SD card out of the Zoom
Oh, God.
and put it into my computer,
Oh, I
which is
hate it.
in another room,
I hate it.
I
hate it.
can't, I don't know. It makes no sense why it's like truly awful, but I just hate that. You hate it too?
I hate it.
It's like carrying a sack full of sledgehammers up 10 flights of stairs for some reason.
I feel you so hard on
But
this.
why?
I don't know. It's like flames, in blue on the side of my face. Okay, so here's my deal. I'm like new to making this podcast, right? I'm 4 episodes in. So I have a Zoom. I have to take the SD card out, put it in my goddamn computer. Every time I am doing a voiceover and like, you know what? I should have said this. I've got to re-record. And so why can't I just put the Zoom? Is there not a USB cable that can just go straight into my computer?
There is.
Okay.
There's a way you can do that.
But why aren't there good quality microphones that can go from the microphone straight into my computer? Why do all of them sound gross?
Do they all sound, I should let Jeff answer this, but I'm going to talk for a moment. Do they all sound gross? Because I took a voiceover class, and I have not put it to use yet, by the way, you guys. But anyway, he was showing different microphones, and he has one that just plugs straight into his computer, Jeff.
Yeah, they're kind of junky.
Okay.
But what you can do is, if you go to my website, barracudaradio.com/gear, there's a list of equipment. And what you can do is you can take your professional mic, and there is an adapter made by Shure that's an XLR Pro connector to USB. So you can use that to use your professional mic and have that run directly into your computer. I recommend doing that instead of getting one of the crappy mics with a USB plug on it.
Well, you just fixed my whole life.
That's what I'm here for.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
No charge.
There's also something about that SD card, because every time you take it out of your computer, you're like, is my computer going to tell me that I didn't eject this properly?
Right.
And then I'm going to feel ashamed.
And SD cards are pretty delicate feeling. They're tiny. They're like a tiny, tiny floppy disk that's hard. A tiny, what do they used to call those? Diskettes or something?
Yes.
Cuss disc. Every time I take it out and something tells me it wasn't ejected properly, I'm like, well, this has 9 lives and now it has 8 lives. Like,
Right.
I feel like it's about to expire.
Right.
Something horrible is going to break. Yeah.
I get it. What's your favorite thing about the podcast?
My favorite thing is talking to the guests, actually. Yeah. And yeah, that's my favorite thing.
So I'm your hot lava, is what you're
You
saying.
are, yeah. I just wish I hope I don't drop my keys in you, but
Right.
now I've learned if I do, let them go.
Let him go.
Yeah.
Never going to see him again.
The way that you felt upon encountering that list of ologies, that's sort of how I feel when I encounter a list of words or word roots or etymology. Like, that's my etymology is my ologies.
Really?
And yet I don't do much with it other than just be amused and think about words and stuff. But I always feel like in some other life I'm doing something with that.
Did you take languages as a kid?
I took Spanish in school, and I majored in English. So no, but I always like on my list of things to do one day, my bullet journal, learn Latin or Greek probably, because I'm just a real nerd for that kind of stuff.
I took Latin for 4 years through high school, which was, imagine me, goth, dyed black curly hair, braces, late in the game, AP
How
Latin.
late?
Like, I was a junior in high school when everyone had them in 8th grade. My family was like, sorry, we got another kid in braces, so you're gonna have to wait. And I was like, got it. My teeth are not perfect. I was like, get this.
They're pretty perfect.
I was like, get these things off me. I'm a senior. I wish I would have just kept them on through college. But yeah, so I took Latin because it was offered. Like, I went to public school and it was odd that it was offered. And our teacher was old. And it was like, get in here while she's still alive, man, because she's not going to live forever. And so Latin is really helpful for like looking at a word and being able to decode it. That's kind of fun. Because you're like, oh, I think I can get what this means based on an old, disgusting language that no one uses anymore.
I find myself doing that, trying to figure out what a word means or what the root is, but I do it without actually knowing Latin, so it doesn't work as well.
It's there's this one, you would love this thing. There's this dictionary of etymology. I should send it to you. It's like an actual book, and it's just etymology of all the words, and it's fun to just open it up and look at a random word and be like, oh, like buxom comes from, buxom. Like,
right.
When you think of buxom, what do you think of?
Chesty.
Right. You think of like sweet rack. You just think of like cleave in the face. It comes from the root word for pliable, like a pliable stick. Because a pliable stick then became like amenable, agreeable.
Right.
Then became attractive. Then became beautiful. Then became tits. So like,
wow,
this whole weird evolution of a word coming from a stick you could bend to like a woman you could bend. Like, it's really crazy how elastic language is and how things that we think are, ooh, I see Wendy. Things that we think we just take as fact are changing all the time.
Right.
So I don't know. I love that about it. But
right. Me too. Well, I got to check out this book. Okay. Grey's Anatomy.
Oh boy.
What did you do on Grey's Anatomy?
I made enough money to afford health insurance. Essentially, I used to act when I was in college and when I first moved to LA, and I would have, back then you had to make $13,000 a year to have SAG health insurance, which was great. And so every once in a while, when like the end of the year would be coming, I'd like send a note. Probably not even an email, probably like an actual letter to a producer or casting director, being like, "Hey, if anything comes up, let me know." And they'd be like, "Yeah, we'll bring you in for something." And then I would they would mercifully give me like a part that was like,
did they
just
know
enough
it was
money.
because did they know you wanted health insurance?
They may have. I may have actually told them. But I got cast in this Grey's Anatomy episode where my husband thinks he's pregnant and it ends up being like a teratoma. But it was an experience that some of the actors were like so nice, and some I was like, wow, you are a miserable person. But there was one actress who played a doctor. I won't say which one. It was
I'm already frustrated with this lack of info.
I'm sorry. I'll tell you off mic.
Okay, great.
But one of the people on the show was pretending to take notes on the case, and I saw her jot down on her clipboard, "This is so fucking stupid."
Oh my God.
She was not a happy camper. She did not like being on that show. But yeah, I don't know. I made enough for health insurance, but it does haunt me every once in a while. Someone will be like, "I was binge watching Grey's and this looks like you, but with bad hair." And I'm like, "No, that's my hair. That's real."
Important question. When you go out on like auditions and meetings and all, has anyone ever told you how you should wear your hair? Because I feel like I've encountered lists, I don't know, or maybe I'm just thinking of Patty Stanger, where it's like men like straight hair.
Oh, that woman's a devil, number one. She's like setting us back so far.
She really is. I mean, that's a long time ago that she said it. Maybe she's come along. I don't know.
What a horrible woman. She's Millionaire Matchmaker, right?
Yes.
How's her love life?
I doubt it's that good.
Yeah.
I don't actually know.
Yeah, I bet it's not good.
Yeah.
No, I straighten it because it's just continuity. It's helpful because if I start it curly, by the end of the day, I don't know what it's going to do, TBH. And when I do green screen stuff, then to have like a nest of hair and then the person who's trying to key out the green is like, it's like a doily. My hair looks like a backlit doily. It's a disaster. So they have to, so I smooth it for that. But then I have like two producers that come in constantly being like, "Oop, we have a thing." And then they're just hairspraying it and patting it down. And I have one really frizzy piece that never seems to obey that I call Kevin, because it's like Kevin will get in the shot and they'll be like, "Oh, Kevin." I have to stop.
They call it Kevin too?
Now they've started to call it Kevin
that.
also. But like, so my hair is always like, my family doesn't call me Alie, they call me Puffy because of my hair. Do you have any nicknames like that?
Alie is my nickname.
Oh.
It's not the same as Puffy. I guess that was not the question you asked. I guess the answer is no. But everyone in my family calls me Alie.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
We're both ALISONs. We're both Allisons.
But you are ALIE, whereas I'm just an ALI.
I was ALI forever, and then I changed it.
Why?
I feel like such a fraud. I was a journalist. I started to write for the LA Weekly, and someone had my byline. Someone was Alie Ward with no E on it, and she was like a horticulturist in Britain. And so for search engine optimization, I had to put an E on my name. And my parents still spell it with no E, but my sisters kind of spell with the E. And I feel like I've enforced a change on them that they're uncomfortable with, where I'm like, if people who've known me forever, like, don't put an E on it. But I was just like, people keep asking me if I write about tulips, and I don't. So I had to change it.
Do you feel inside, are you Alie with an E, Alie without an E, or Allison?
Oof. What a question. You're good at this.
It's because I'm an Allison. If I were a Veronica, who knows what I would be asking.
Doesn't it seem like so simple to just have a name that's just your name? Like Hannah or
Right.
Aaron or something.
Yeah.
That's just your name. There's no one who's like, what does your passport say? You know what I mean? There's
Right.
no like, oh, if you call, I've had boyfriends try to call me Allison, like in moments of like intense, like if I'm breaking up with them, Allison. And I'm like, what the fuck? Who do you think you are right now? Like,
Right.
You're not like my dentist. What are you talking about? I hate you. But This is such an amazing question because I think about this all the time. I'm like, what's my real identity? What do I identify with? And I think I'm a Ward.
Oh,
I identify with my last name so much more strongly. Like,
interesting.
I sign emails Ward sometimes and I'm like, oh, is that appropriate? Should I be? Because it's funny because Alie with the E on it spells a lie.
Oh, yeah.
And Allison, I think, means truth. So it's funny that if you truncate the truth, you get a lie, kind of. But it feels, Alie with the E feels a little bit pretentious because it's like a professional thing. Do you know what I mean? But did you change your name when you got married or no?
No,
Okay.
I intended to. And like I filled out, I don't know if it's on the marriage certificate or there's something that I filled out where I was like, am I going to be Allison Michelle Quantz or am I going to be Allison Rosen Quantz? Not realizing I had the option, I think, of just doing Allison Michelle Rosen Quantz. But I was like, I'm just going to go Allison Michelle Quantz. Like I'm fully leaning in. And then I started to feel very uncomfortable with like it felt like I just think I got married too old to change my name or something. It felt too hard. Like I said, I always intended to. And then when it came down to it, I was just like, I can't erase. It felt like erasing my identity or something.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I didn't.
Right.
And then I also thought about it again when I got pregnant because then we would all have the same last name. And because there always is confusion when I call like, hey, this is, so-and-so, a patient name. And then there's like some slight confusion over us having different last names. But I just still haven't done it. So I don't know if I will or not.
Is it harder to change your name than it is to like, I don't know, buy a gun or something? I hear that it's like a real pain in the ass. Like
That's what I've heard. Yeah,
Right.
I've heard it is a pain in the ass too. And then also changing your credit cards, changing your driver's license, I imagine your social security. I just imagine traveling would then become sort of a nightmare over the like mismatched. But I was, I don't know. It's probably, for people who want to do it, it's probably not that bad.
Just thinking about it made me like instantly car sick. Like instantly like, oh, I need to breathe. Oh, it's too much. Like I'm not married. I'm not engaged. I'm not with someone in that way. But yeah, I've always thought like I'm at this point too old to take a dude's name. I think not too old, rather. I'm too established with my own identity.
Well, I have a theme song with the name Rosen in it, so I can't lose that.
Exactly. Like we are our businesses. So, but that kind of merger is like, do I have to rebrand myself?
Yeah.
But
but you could, I mean, what people say, which I think is true, and which was what I intended to do, is just legally, I'll change my name, but I'll still go by Allison Rosen. But then just that mountain of paperwork and the identity thing was just too much for me.
I went to 7 weddings last year.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I hope you wore the same thing at all of them.
God, I wish I did. I really should have. I just should have worn silk pajamas to each of them and been like, I'm here for it. But 3 of them, by the way, met online. 3 of the weddings.
There was that.
A match, an OkCupid, and a Tinder. By the way, Tinder wedding was another guest of yours, Matt and Dory.
Oh.
From Excellent Adventure.
Sure.
And I made Matt download Tinder because I was like, Tinder is a shit show of humans. You got to look at this. I was like, you got to check this out.
You brought them together.
Yes. I was like, it's hilarious. It's awful. And so he downloaded it. He swiped on one human being. She ended up being like double master's degree, executive editor of BuzzFeed, novelist. Boom. They both deleted their app a week later. And I was like, meanwhile, I'm on there just shuffling through turds, being like, are you kidding me? This guy is like
shuffling through turds.
The worst. The worst. The guys were horrible. And then they just like flitted off. So I'm so happy for them.
Meant to be.
I don't love
guess.
That. But yeah, but a lot of women I know I don't know if any of them changed their names because everyone's kind of like, this is my, especially in LA, they're like, I'm a writer. I'm a,
right.
This is my thing. But I don't know. So I already changed my name once, not legally, but I feel like I already put my family through like, this is how we spell it now. I can't do it again. But yeah, but I was Alie for a long time.
But now, did you consider ALLIE or ALLY or any of those things?
It was all about, this was 2007, it's 10 years ago. It was all about search engine optimization. I was like, okay, if someone is looking for my stuff, does anyone else spell it this way? And I was like, they were ALLIEs. So I was like, I need people to be able, at the time I was writing about music and there was this band I loved called Restaurant. and they were just called fucking restaurant. And I was like,
what a nightmare.
You. I was like, you're great. You use a suitcase as a drum set. You play on a weird banjo you made out of like old razor blades. I don't know, whatever. You're dope. And I can't, if I type in restaurant Los Angeles, and I was like, Jesus, get it together. They finally changed it to a V. They're like, the U is a V. But I was like, you can't do that in this day and age. Why do you think so many companies just take the vowels out? You know what I mean?
Oh.
Because then you can find them.
I hadn't thought that that's why they do it.
Yeah,
I thought it was just some weird trendy thing, like bone broth.
Yeah.
I said it. Let's take some questions from listeners.
When we ask, they send them in. They're wondering how you have been. So thanks so much for answering these questions from our fans.
Okay. Let's see here. Chalet says, have her parents come around to realize voting for Trump was a bad idea.
Oh my God, that's right into it. My parents are wonderful people. I don't understand why they are Republican, because it doesn't make any sense, because they are not in a financial position to be like, oh, it's hands off my wealth at all, at all. But my parents turned Republican around the time we found out that we were related to this guy who had a hand in the American Revolution. So this guy named Alie Ward, he was the first commander-in-chief of the U.S. Revolution. And then he had like an exploded gallbladder. And he's like, George Washington, take over. And so once my parents found out that we were tangentially like great uncle, they started getting weirdly patriotic. And then they started watching Fox News, and then it poisoned their brains. So it's so upsetting, because I'll go up there to help them out and I'll be like, turn this off, please. I think they have realized that it was an error.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They are getting more and more tolerant of my very, very vocal opposition.
What were they before the Artemis Awakening?
I don't really know. I feel like my mom, I think, was a Democrat who helped campaign for Reagan when Reagan was a Democrat. So I don't know. Maybe there was a weird transition thing, but my dad was a reporter, broadcast journalist, and my mom was an accountant. I don't know, but it's one of those things where I have been super vocal politically and on social issues since I was young. Like, I would read books on feminism in high school electively, and I would engage in weird debates about civil rights and stuff that I didn't know enough about, but just knew enough about to be obnoxious. And so I don't know. I think that they have realized that I think that they are ashamed and embarrassed now, but I don't think that they'd come out and say it.
Well, given that your dad's a reporter, I would imagine especially the attacks on the media aren't sitting well with him.
I don't know. I'm going up there next weekend, and they have definitely learned to not have Fox News on, because I'm like, no way, dudes. I'm coming up here to like help, because they're both sick too. Like, my dad has cancer, my mom has MS, and I'm like, I'm coming up here to haul wood and like cook meals, do the dishes, take you to appointments, and then you return the favor by having some disgusting people like squawking about things that I just like disagree with. So they've at least turned that off. It doesn't make sense, because they're really nice human beings, person to person. I don't get it.
I'm trying to find the question. Someone asked how your dad's health is, but I need to find.
Really? Gosh, these are so incredibly personal.
It was Chalet, same person. Also, how's her dad's health?
He's doing well. My dad has something called multiple myeloma, which is like, not to be a bummer, but he's doing well though. He was like late stage diagnosed 4 years ago, and he had a prognosis of about 2 years. So but thanks to people who are doing great things, he's on some really great drugs. And I'm actually doing on November 4th in LA. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but
before then, it's coming out Monday. Yeah.
Oh, great. November 4th. I'm helping out with there's a comedy benefit for the Myeloma Foundation, and so I'm helping out with that. It's like a really good lineup, like Kumail and like Ray Romano and all these things.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm involved with that just to kind of help out on the red carpety stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
do you do stand up?
I don't. I do storytelling, but I feel like podcasting is kind of like sit down comedy, but no, I'm terrified of doing it, and I think I should just go to some open mic in the Valley and like wear a mustache and just give it a shot without anyone knowing it, just so that I can suck and be like, okay, I tried that.
Right.
Have you done it?
I have.
How was it?
the first time I did it went really well. Like the first handful of times I did it went really well, which my hunch is most people who stick with it, they did do really well at the very beginning, because otherwise why would you keep doing it? I'm sure that that's not the case for everyone, but it went really well. And then I got very in my head about it. And I listened to like I don't think he was my manager, but he was a manager at the time, who was like, as a woman, you should not talk about dating because blah, blah, blah. And like, you shouldn't talk about this and shouldn't talk about that. And that like rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, there's all these rules. And I'm sort of a newcomer to this sort of, Cameron Esposito described it as a caste system. And it really is like that. Like, and but all of that actually wouldn't have dissuaded me, I think, if I loved it. The last time I did it, I was like, I can't wait till it's 10:30 p.m. because then this will be over. And I thought that's not something you do if you love it.
Right.
You know, versus the other things I do where it's like, I feel alive when I'm doing it. I didn't feel that way about it. So I don't know. I feel like I could do it if I wanted to. I'm not saying I could be great, but I could do it. But I don't love it enough to go through it.
That's a good barometer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're like, I think comics who really like it, because it is a hard life too.
Mm-hmm.
I think comics are like, you can't get me on that stage. And then you're
Right.
like, you get it. You go. I love watching.
Yeah.
But there's a Netflix documentary, I forget what it's called, but it's about stand-up comedy and what it takes. And it's like so dark and so depressing. It's just like, it's the worst life. It hurts my soul every day. I'm addicted to it. And you're like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah, I didn't have that addicted to it feeling.
Right.
I had my feeling sometimes about live performances, like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Right. What about
versus like live television? And I don't know why, but for some reason, because I sort of got my start doing live morning news stuff. Like, I fucking love that.
Right.
I just love it. I don't feel nervous, or if I just feel excited, and you know, all those things.
The only thing you don't like is that you don't do it enough.
That's right. That's exactly correct.
It's your lava.
Young Tunes Daily. Any good untold stories from your goth days?
Oh boy. Oh, the goth days. I was super goth. Like, I went to a really good public school. Everyone was very rich. Everyone wore nice pants and had jettas and played lacrosse. And so we didn't have that kind of money. So my friends and I just became weird goths, because it was just like, well, you can't argue with this, motherfuckers. And so, and it was grungy days. And so I'm trying to think of, my God, I fall asleep. Speaking of sheets, like your sheets ad really hit me right in my sleep area, sensitive spot, because I can fall asleep anywhere, which is like really problematic. But I have fallen asleep at Gothic industrial clubs, like with like
It's loud.
Yeah, like Skinny Puppy playing, and I just be like bye bye, and just fall like sober, completely fall asleep. And so that happened a lot. But I'm trying to think. I had a religious aunt tell me that my black nail polish was the work of Satan, and I was like, I get good grades. I'm trying to think of the worst thing that happened. I mean, I was like a pretty good student in college. I was studying biology and I was studying photography and stuff. But I lived in a house full of like industrial dudes, and one of them sold weed, and our whole freezer was stuffed full of like bricks of weed, of probably shit weed too, but whatever. And our garage had like a 6-foot bong, and the floor was just like shells of nitrous oxide. Like, I lived in this house where like other people would come to the house to like.
This was Santa Barbara?
This was in Santa Barbara, yeah. Oh my God, how did you, good memory.
Because I might have looked you up beforehand.
God, you're such a good reporter. This was in Santa Barbara. Not a lot of goths in Santa Barbara.
Right.
I kept putting myself in the least
But I feel like
situations.
a lot of partying. A lot of party. Like this house makes sense in Santa
So
Barbara.
much sense. Like, I remember the first time I ever drank, I took shots of like room temperature gin with a Pepsi chaser. It was the worst thing that ever happened to my body. And there was a couch on fire, and I just remember being like, this is, what kind of a hellscape am I in? But yeah, those goth days, I had a boyfriend named Braun who we DJ'd at a club.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Braun and Alie.
Braun and Alie. We dated for like 5 years. Is that weird?
He wasn't from Orange County, was he?
No.
Okay.
It was up north. But yeah, he's like a software salesman now. No mohawk.
It'd be weird if I actually knew the Braun you mentioned, but it's not the most common name.
How did you know a Braun?
'Cause there was a Braun in Orange County.
Aw.
And he and I went to the same tennis camp. It was a day. It was not a sleepover camp.
That's
I'm
so
trying to
not
remember
goth.
his last. No, it was not. No, and I wasn't goth, but I was. That's
You were
the
punk,
thing.
right? You were like Riot Girl.
I was
Ish?
in a punk band. I don't think I like embrace. I didn't consciously embrace any of those things, but everyone always thought I was goth. And I look at pictures and I'm like, because I was goth, I just
Yep.
wasn't aware of it.
I know. It's one of those things where it's like putting a frog in boiling water where they don't know. It's like you don't realize you're goth until you look hindsight.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I was using white clown makeup as foundation. Like,
Yeah.
I was goth. Like, I was like, no, I'm just really into the Smiths and the Cure and stuff.
Right.
And you're like, you're wearing wool in the summer and fishnets as a shirt. Like, you're fucking goth, dude.
Right. And it's like, okay, there's a lot of black eyeliner happening and also a lot of lipstick and just a lot of makeup in general and black everything.
Yep.
And black hair. And yeah, so.
I had my college roommate in the dorms freshman year went as me for Halloween, but as sexy Alie, because apparently I did not dress sexy.
Oh,
and
I didn't either and still don't.
yeah, I wore like big boxy everything. I was like a little feminist where I'm like, you're not seeing the outline of my physique. Like, but yeah, so I opened the door and she was wearing all of my clothes, but like in a slightly like a Halloween slutified version.
That's hilarious. Did you feel celebrated or denigrated?
I felt I think I just edged out of the room backwards and was like, I'll see you November 1st. This is too much.
Stephen Ray Morris. Why is Alie Ward so awesome?
Because I know Stephen Ray Morris.
Oh, that's a touche.
Yep.
Right back at you.
She's great. Stephen Ray Morris, amazing person. And what a mustache. My mustache aspires. As an Italian woman, my mustache is so envious of his.
But you had laser plucking.
Oh my God, Allison,
Jolene
I'm so glad you
cream
asked.
bleach. What's going on? Because there's no mustache that I'm seeing.
Well, I've lasered everything below my eyebrows pretty much. Not my eyelashes. But with my mustache, because I am Italian, I realized this morning that I was brushing my teeth and I realized that when I waxed last time, I got a clean deal on one side, but still have some peach fuzz on the other side.
So you wax
Yeah.
by yourself or do you go to someone?
I do it. I'm such a weird lumberjack.
Wait, do you have one of those wax warmers?
No, I'm not that
those
intense.
Okay. Well, how do you do it?
This tweezerless wax for sensitive skin, you can buy it at like Sally's. It's $5. You put it in the microwave. You test it on your hand to make sure you're not going to burn off several layers of your dermis. And then it just hardens. It's blue. You don't need strips. And then you rip it off. You steel yourself. And you're like, this is going to hurt so much. But you do it because it's not acceptable to have a mustache. And you rip it off.
It does. I've not waxed my mustache, but I used to get my eyebrows waxed, and every single time I was like, holy shit, this hurts. Pretty painful. You mentioned dermis, which reminds me of a funny story from the past about a dumb person.
Okay.
Have you ever joined a gym?
Once.
Did you have to sit through a whole spiel about it? Like, I feel like people who want you to join a gym, it's often like someone who's trying to sell you a car at a car dealership.
Oh, yeah, that's gross.
Yeah. So, and like they bring you into the office and like write down a bunch of shit on 4 different parts of the paper, and you're confused. And in my head, I'm always like, somehow I can crunch the numbers to find the cheapest membership, but you've spun me around. It's as if you're trying to hypnotize me. But anyway, this guy who was giving us the whole gym spiel that I wanted to get out of so bad was explaining that for the set number of days you can call and cancel at any time. Like you can call, no matter what, you can call and just be like, hey, I have an epidermis and I need to cancel. And he didn't mean it in a funny way. He actually thought having an epidermis was a condition.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Did you stop trusting him at that point? His authority?
Yes. It was at that point that I thought, you are dumb and full of shit. That's not true. I knew it instantly.
What do you think he meant? Like, because even an epidural doesn't make any sense. If you're
I think he thought he was saying, like, I have a melanoma or I have
wow,
strep throat or well, now you're making me reconsider. Like, was he just being clever? Like, you can cancel for any reason. Like, hey,
No.
it's Tuesday. No, I really think he thought it was a condition.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm maybe he knows
Like, I have
the word
yeah.
from like a staph infection manual or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because that was my reaction at the time. He for sure meant some kind of condition.
That's beautiful. That's
It
so
was great.
beautiful. But
It
he's
was
probably
wonderful.
was very, very pretty and
He
good at
was.
working
He
out.
had long hair. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that's
was
all that
tan.
matters.
This was back when long hair was cool. Okay, let's move on to Just Me or Everyone. But first, I want to tell you guys I'm on Patreon. Patreon.com/AllisonRosen is where you go. All sorts of fun, great stuff there, including so much access to me. You'll be like, how do I get her to leave me alone? There's a level where you get bonus episodes. Jordan Morris is going to be the bonus episode this month. Jeff Fox, none other than Jeff Fox, bonus episode last month. And you can get access to an exclusive live video stream. There's a level where you get merch in the mail. It's fun. Patreon.com/AllisonRosen. And if you like what you're hearing, subscribe. iTunes.com/AllisonRosen and rate and review. Okay, let's do Just Me or Everyone.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
I have been informed that Alie has a Just Me or Everyone.
It's not gross.
That's okay.
It's
I like
kind
gross.
of gross, but it's not. It's definitely not ungross.
That's my favorite.
Okay, so you know do you ever get
Yes.
excited when you realize you have like a zit on your head?
Hello. Picking head scabs is one of my favorite things. Pulling the scab through the hair. Come on.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
I would that's one of those things where you're like, it's so great when you have like an ingrown hair or a thing that no one can see, and you're like, whoosh. This is because when you have something on your face, you're like, I can't even enjoy this disgusting thing because everyone can see it.
Right.
But when
and
you're-
you don't want to make it worse.
But when you've got like an ingrown hair on your thigh or like a pimple on your scalp, it's great. It's great.
Have you ever felt something on your body and been like, I can't wait to get home and pick that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
100%. And I went to the
I
dermatologist.
wanted to pull over recently to pick something on my arm. Like, what is this? This demands my full attention.
Have you ever had to get checked for moles by an epidermis doctor?
Many, many, many years ago. And then I spent many years being like, I'm probably going to die because I haven't been checked in a long time. And then recently I had a little, a hard bump on a small, cute, hard bump on my face that wasn't going away. And I was worried about it, but it turned out to just be seborrheic keratosis, which is just harmless and something that comes with aging. They're called the barnacles of aging, which is so flattering.
That's not really what they're called. Are they?
Well, the doctor didn't tell me that. I got home and I looked up seborrheic keratosis, thinking it'd be like, this is a cute, harmless thing that cute people get. I don't know what I expected. And instead, I found the most mortifying paragraph about like, because they start in middle age and because of their wart-like, appearance, they're referred to as the barnacles of aging. It was awful.
That melts my heart in a way that's so horrifying. And also, I just want you to know, I did go to the epidermis doctor recently because I had a thing on my face that I thought was a mole, and they told me it was seborrheic keratosis.
Oh, I'm
I was
sorry.
like, can
Barnacles of aging.
Yeah, I just like a barge. I'm just like the undercarriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Of a tugboat. Horrifying. And I was like, well, can I get it off? She's like, she's like, no, you just deal with it. She's like, as long as I've got you here, let's check you for moles. And I was like, that's a good idea. If you've had that done, it's like an alien invasion. There's nothing more vulnerable than lying like.
Did they check your whole body?
Whole body, entire body. And it's like you're on a slab at the morgue, but you're still alive and able to be embarrassed. And you're just laying there, not even with like a covering on part of you. And they're just with a little loop, like a jeweler's loop.
Oh my God.
They're just looking at everything, man. And I was like, I have a mole in my butt crack. And she's like, I'll check it. And then she checked it and she was like, I've seen them deeper in cracks. And I was like, good to know.
Did she have to spread your cheeks to get to it?
Of course she did.
I don't know what I was hoping for here.
With the loop, with
Oh
the
my
jeweler's
goodness.
loop. You get out of there and you're like, this was intimate. It was I was like, I had a hard time making eye contact as I shook her hand to say goodbye.
Right. The way you describe that is what I used to think massages were like, which is why I never got one. So I was like, I don't want to lie naked on a table while someone rubs me. I didn't realize that they just they drape you and just uncover a little part of you. So my epidermis doctor didn't check me for moles. I feel like maybe she wasn't that thorough. And also so you still have your barnacle of aging?
Yes, it's still here. And I keep thinking that
that's like pretty close to where mine was. Mine was a little closer to the hairline, but you're pointing to your cheekbone.
Yeah.
Mine was above my cheekbone on my hairline. But I said to her, she said it's harmless. And I said, is it going to get bigger? And she said, maybe let's just freeze it off. And I said, okay. That's actually not what I said. What I said is that going to hurt? And then she said, yes, but you can handle it. And then I didn't hear anything she said from like that point until she froze it off. And my body was reacting as if she was like, we're just going to cut off one of your limbs. But I didn't want her to see how nervous I was. So I was truly I am such a wimp about things like that. I was like truly in a sheer panic until it happened. And then it like hurt a little bit, but not very bad at all.
But you've had a baby.
I know that was what she said. She's like, you're a mom, you can handle it.
How much did childbirth hurt for reals? Give me the real deal. Because I'm probably not going to have them. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking it's not going to happen. I also have the worst ovaries ever. Like if you could fire ovaries, they'd both be out of there. I'd be like, you
I
guys,
have pretty bad ovaries.
what's wrong with yours?
Well, I had to do IVF.
Right. I know that.
Yeah. People who don't even know me probably know that. You don't know who I am. Like I was so loud with that. So I'm a poor responder. So despite all the stimulation drugs, my ovaries still would only produce a few eggs at a time. So that's why I had to do it so many times. So that's what's wrong with my ovaries.
What was your FSH numbers? Did they test yours?
Did they?
Did they? Yeah, you got to
repeatedly, but I can't remember any of that. Like, what's a good one?
Well, FSH,
the higher it is, the worse. Yeah. Is that how it is?
So FSH is how they can tell.
How hard your body is stepping on the gas. Follicle stimulating hormone.
So they start testing you, and if it starts raising, it's like, oh, you should just get a cat. Like this is what they usually tell you. And so a good number is like between 2 and 8. And if you're over 8, they're like, uh-oh. If you're 10, a lot of fertility clinics are like, get the fuck out of my office. Mine is 135.
What? Did they test it more than once?
They've tested it like so many times where I walked in, one doctor walked in and he just went, why is this happening? And I was like, I don't know, dude, I'm paying you the money. But they're like, you're literally off the charts. Like the range is like from whatever to 116. And they're like, you're beyond it. So I was like, so they suck a whole bunch.
Do you ovulate?
I don't think so. No.
Do you have normal? I'm like the mole doctor.
Ask me everything.
Do you have normal periods?
No, but I thought I was just stressed. And for years I was like, okay, I'm just stressed out. I travel a lot and I'm not on birth control. So I'm hanging around all these ladies, my girlfriends. It's all my cycle's just crazy. And then I like finally went to a doctor and they tested that and they sent me the results by email. And so I just Googled the shit out of them. I was like, what is this number? And then I realized, like, I found out alone in a hotel room looking at Google on my phone that I was like, that I had ovarian failure. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's been a couple years, but I've tried like autoimmune diets and they're I have to just take like, I like to think that I take the same cocktail of hormones as Angelina Jolie since she had her ovary removed. I like to think of it that way instead of like what your grandma takes.
Right.
But yeah, so in terms of like Dory's experience, your experience, I'm like, oh, I get it. But
so many questions still.
I know.
So you do get a period though?
Only if I take progesterone.
Oh, so on your own you don't?
Like every couple of months, it'd be like, hi. And then it'd be like, where are you going? And it's like, I'm done. So like, yeah, my ovaries are like, I had an ultrasound yesterday. And she's like, yeah, they're just little. They're not doing much.
Oh, wow. And it's always been that way?
No, I think I was probably like 33, 34 when it started, but I didn't get diagnosed for a while. Mm-hmm. And I just was, finally I was like, I'm getting fevers a lot. And they're like, bitch, you're having hot flashes.
Oh, so you went into like perimenopause.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Which some people do, like 1% of women. It's called POF or POI. It's primary ovarian insufficiency, if you want to be nice about it. But they used to call it, I think they call it this less, premature ovarian failure, which is just super fun to be like, oh, I have organ failure?
Right.
That's cool.
Right.
Can you call in sick for organ failure? Can you get out of a gym membership for that? But so yeah, like I think it's weird to, it's kind of like when you are gonna go do something and you're not sure if you want to do it, and then someone says it's canceled and you're like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how I feel about kids. I was like, well, fuck, I gotta do it soon, but I travel a lot, I work a bunch, and I feel like you have to save up for their college before you can even think about getting pregnant and stuff. And so having that be like, oh yeah, not in the cards.
So like they can't get eggs out of your ovaries even if you wanted to freeze them or anything?
Probably not. No, they were like, every time I have to go into I have a great reproductive endocrinologist in Los Angeles. If anyone needs one, Michelle Evans. She's in Glendale near Verdugo. She's awesome. She's so great. But yeah, she'll check. She'll be like, there's one egg here. And I'm like, well, bye. So yeah, but it's just 1% of women go through it. That could be, from a variety of reasons. I don't really know, but it's just, I don't know. It's interesting. It's kind of like, it's kind of like the decision was made for me by just the universe. I guess. It's that passive pessimism. But it took me a bit, like when I first found out, like that day that I Googled that in the hotel room on a business trip I might start crying thinking about it. It was gutting. It's just like, oh, you just think, especially as like a woman with a career, you're like, I've got to check all these boxes. I've got to have a career. I've got to buy a place. I've got to save up enough money. I've got to, invest in my 401k, and then I'll do kids. Like as soon as I do all this other stuff, and also find a dude who's like not going to like steal my credit cards and like try to have sex with my sister or something, like, which is hard in LA. So you just keep kind of putting it off. And it's one of those things where you're like, oh, everyone has a story of like, well, my cousin got pregnant on accident at 43.
Once you stop trying, fuck all that.
Yeah. And I mean, some people go into like remission with ovarian failure where they'll think that they can't have kids, and then they'll be like a oops baby. But I don't know. They don't really know why it happens. And some women go through it at 18, and that's, it's tough. It's like you have to take hormones so that you don't get osteoporosis, but then you have to take more hormones so that you don't get endometrial cancer from the hormones you're taking to prevent. It's a real pain in the ass. It's expensive.
Yeah.
You know that. Anything fertility related anything women's health related is
expensive.
Which is so fucking annoying. Because like dudes have they have like a squirt gun, and women have like a factory. You know what I mean? It's like, or like we have to be capable of making human life. Like this shit's complicated. So that's a gross overstatement, but what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah, I was actually just yesterday, I was thinking, I really do wish I had children younger, because the career stuff can come after. And like, I was very much like, I want everything to be in line before I try to have kids. And I just like, I'm on the floor with him a lot, and I get up and I'm like, oh, that hurts. And I'm just tired, and like, I definitely feel my age, and I feel like I had more energy when I was younger, and I think it'll be fine. It'll be good. But just having a baby, if I had more energy, it'd be better. So I wish I'd done it younger. And then I was thinking, but I wasn't ready. Yeah. That's the thing, is it's not like I really wanted to, but I put it off for logistical reasons. It's like I put it off because I didn't feel ready.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it makes sense to like do it before you're ready either.
I think anyone who has a young kid too is tired as fuck.
Yeah, no matter what age, probably.
You're like, I had more energy when I was younger, which was when I didn't have a kid. You're like, yeah, that's right. Kind of like, and your body and your adrenaline and your body kicks in when it really needs it. If you had to lift a car off, Elliot, I'm sure you could. You know what I mean? Like,
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. Or I hope there's someone strong near me. But Daniel and I talk about like, we got to instill in him that he needs to do it young so that we're around to meet the grandkids. It's like pretty much a selfish reason.
I know. I just figure I'll get a dog eventually. My life is weird enough where I can't even get a dog right now. So I was like, how could I do it's weird. It's one of those problems we haven't quite figured out. And a lot of women most of the women I know out earn their partners. So you're also the breadwinner who, it's just fucking hard. And so, especially in LA, like you're from OC, but a lot of people move here to be like, okay, man, I'm leaving my family. I'm flying home twice a year if I can afford it to see my parents. Like I'm just, I packed up a Honda Civic and I had like nothing. Like I remember getting to my apartment and I had a can of soup to eat and I looked around and realized I didn't have a can opener. And then I was like, fuck. And then I realized I didn't have a pot. And then I looked around and realized that the apartment didn't have a stove. And I was like, Jesus, like, I have nothing. So like you drop everything to come and try to make something of your life. And so it's tough to be like, that's one reason why in La La Land, when Emma Stone has a baby at like 2 years after she books the Paris job, I was like, what? No, that would never happen.
Yeah. And it is weird. It is weird being that person whose whole life is oriented around career achievement to then all of a sudden have a baby.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be, I'm not complaining about it, but I have been going through like postpartum and identity stuff and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's who am I now and what do I want and all of that stuff. But to answer your question of how painful it is.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. It's weird the way you kind of forget, because as he was literally coming out of me, I thought, I'm never doing this again. Like, this sucks. And then, a couple weeks later, I was like, well, maybe. And now I'm like, yeah, I'll do it again. So I had an epidural. It didn't fully take. So like they redid it, and it's still, at that point I was just too dilated, I think, for it to really quell the pain. So I was upset about how much I was feeling. And I was very convinced right after that, like, I don't think it worked. And then my doctor said, you could have been feeling a ton of pressure and that you can think that's pain. And I was like, I don't think that's true. But then now that some time's passed, I'm like, was I really feeling the full array, the full level of pain of childbirth, or was she right? And I don't know. I don't know. I think somewhere, I think I wasn't feeling like the whole thing, but I was feeling a lot of it. The crowning, they call it the ring of fire. Oh, like, that was pretty unpleasant. That part was fairly awful. And I was very afraid of tearing. And like, if the baby comes out quickly, that's when a lot of tearing can happen. Whereas if they kind of hold the babies, like, they manage how fast the baby's coming out. So they, the head is there and they kind of hold the head there. And then, like, my doctor used mineral oil and, like, there's all sorts of, like, massage happening. She's not all crunchy, even though it sounds like that. But she was doing because I had begged her, please, don't let me tear. Oh, God. So what that means, though, is that they're slowing it down so that you'll stretch. But that was not comfortable. Like, that was so, like, please get this thing out of my vagina and body. So that was, it was painful. But it wasn't the worst pain I've ever felt in my life.
What? What's the worst pain you've ever felt? The
pain I felt before needing a root canal. Actually,
really?
Yes. So maybe that right there shows that that the epidural was working.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm like, it wasn't the worst. But yeah, I was in college and I was walking to class and all of a sudden I had this toothache that just was so intense. And then it turned out I needed a root canal. That's the worst pain.
How long was it between feeling it and getting the root canal? Like, did you sit with that shit for like a week?
No. Maybe it was like a day, and then I was able to get in. Maybe I even got in that day. I forget. Maybe it started at night, and I woke, and I still had it the next day. I know I was walking to class, like, holding my cheek. Yeah. What's the worst pain you felt?
Oh, God. I feel like emotional pain is so much worse. Like I remember hoarsely sobbing to Whitney Houston videos right after she died because I was also going through a breakup, and I was like, does pain get worse? But I think I had a kidney infection also right around the time of a breakup. Happens to be. And it was so painful. I was actually crying from the pain, and I was trying to drive myself to the doctor, and my whole body was shaking. And I got to the doctor, and the doctor like very objectively just going through like a list of questions. And are you in pain? And I remember being like, what does it look like? Like I was like crying. So that was maybe the worst pain. But I've been hit by cars. I got my hand stuck in an escalator.
Oh my God.
I've been through some shit. We were just curious kids. So we were just kind of like, I don't know. I tried to figure out how an escalator worked when I was 4, and I found out I'm one of the reasons why they have emergency stop buttons on escalators.
Wow.
There are a couple of us just total nimrods that got caught in escalators in the 80s, and they were like, we need a button. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alie Ward, it was so nice having you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for letting it get real. We know so much about each other's vaginas.
I know. We really do. Tell everyone where to plug all your stuff.
Ologies is kind of my main passion project. I love it so much. I love working on it. It's hard, but no epidurals for that. But it's Ologies on wherever you get podcasts, and it's on Twitter at OlogiesPod and Instagram at Ologies. And then I'm Alie Ward, ALIEWARD, as discussed, on all the things.
Awesome. Jeff, where do we find you?
You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Colonel Jeff Fox. And a little behind the scenes tip of the hat to Alie owning the perfect thermos. We had an extended discussion before the show. I've been for years and years on the quest for the perfect thermos, and Alie has it.
32-ounce Stanley, man.
Yep.
Get it.
Wide mouth, industrial green.
So manly.
It's perfect.
I'm going to take a picture of Alie with her thermos.
It's so perfect. And it has a handle. A lot of thermoses don't have handles.
I know, I take it everywhere. It's just big enough to be impressive and awkward.
Right.
I love it.
And follow me on Twitter at Allison Rosen. Follow my Instagram at Allison Rosen. Thank you guys so much for listening. I love you. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen Show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go. Yeah, Allison Rosen is your new best friend.